what is coaching? Because if you've never really been coached, it's something it's difficult to understand. It's very difficult to understand. You have no reference point because we we know what it's like to receive advice from people, and we know what it's like to be told what to do. And but and we also know what it's like to discover something on our own through our own thought processes, through our thinking, through our problem solving. And then we come to, some conclusion, some epiphany. And these can happen, and these do happen naturally, but somewhat rarely. So a person may go through a series of relationships, for example, and then, by the fifth or sixth or 20th relationship, they will start to see a pattern. They'll start to notice a pattern that's repeating itself. And then that is when they have this epiphany. And they realize something about themselves, why they have been attracting a certain type of person this whole time. And they'll realize that it was something about themselves that they were not honoring, that they were not loving, maybe something they didn't believe in themselves, or they were minimizing themselves in some way. And they will have a huge epiphany, and their life will change. Their life will go in a different direction. They'll start being attracted to and attracting a different type of partner. So someone may have this kind of epiphany, once every decade, once every 5 years. Kind of a rare event. So what coaching does is it allows you to have these epiphanies, these realizations, much more frequently. Within 1 hour, a person may have 3 to 5 of these epiphanies. Within a 3-hour coaching session, a person can have massive life-changing epiphanies. And over a weekend, sometimes, like a 12-hour, 2-day, 24-hour kind of event, people will have life-changing perspectives, life-changing shifts. And this would be like the seminar style of coaching that happens. And all of these are life-changing, whether they happen in an hour, whether they happen in, over a period of 12 hours, where they have hundreds of insights, hundreds of realizations about themselves, where they have tears of gratitude, tears of understanding several times throughout the weekend. Or, this is what growth is. And I always recommend to people, if they're hiring a coach, the coach's job is to help you have epiphanies, to help you gain greater awareness, greater understanding. So if the coach is, if you're going to a coach or a counselor or a psychologist or whatever it is, and you're not having these epiphanies, or they're just not happening, frequently enough, then it's time to get another coach. It's time to look around, because that's the purpose. That's the point. And exactly. If that's not happening, then they're not doing their job, or they do not know how to do their job. And so what happens a lot is people will get stuck in their stories. They will tell the story about what has happened to them and what they've been through and who did what and why and all of this stuff. And this happens in coaching sessions, this happens in counseling sessions and psychology sessions. And the coach or counselor or whoever will listen patiently. And then they might end the session after an hour. So where is the insight? If the individual being coached has the same perspective from the beginning, before the meeting and after the meeting, what has changed? How has that person grown? They repeated the same story over and over again. So as they're repeating the same story over and over again, nothing is changing, right? Their behavior is not gonna change, for one. Their feelings are not gonna change. They're gonna have the same story, so they're gonna have the same beliefs and the same perceptions and the same story, so they're gonna have the same feelings. And from my point of view, when it comes to entrepreneurs and taking action, content creators and business owners, we want to take greater and greater challenges on. So we need to be constantly growing. We need constant epiphanies. We need to see ourselves as more and more capable, more and more able to take on greater challenges. And if I just tell my same story over and over, then nothing is going to change. And my behavior is not going to, my performance is not going to increase. So my job as a coach is to ask questions. I take several approaches to helping people to have these epiphanies, to have these people grow, have these clients grow. The simplest way is through questions, going through the mind. You know, if you ask a question that's counterintuitive, that the person has never thought of before, they're going to have an epiphany. They're going to have a realization, a new perspective. And I've been studying questions for 15 years and looking at what questions create the highest change, the highest perspective, and the highest level, the greatest epiphany. So my job as a coach is to ask questions. Now, there are many coaches out there that will ask questions because there's several different coaching styles. And some of the coaching styles will ask the question from the point of view that the person has all the answers within themselves and all the resources within themselves, which is true. But again, what happens is it becomes sort of, it's too random. There isn't enough direction to find the growth. So there's no like real purpose behind the questioning. So my style is I have two goals when I'm asking questions. Number one is to remove any limitation. So the questions are designed to help the person see themselves as unlimited, as not having a limitation. The assumption is there that there is no limitation. And whether it's within their abilities, within their skills, within their time, within their resources, because this is the greatest way for them to do the next thing. It makes them more resourceful. It makes them to see things, see more of what's actually there. The second objective of these questions is to get them to take action. So the questions are specifically designed to help them to be able to take action. And we get stuck in our minds, we get stuck in procrastination, we get stuck in overthinking, we get stuck in perfectionism. And these are all just protective mechanisms to protect us from feeling a feeling. When we have a limitation in our programming, now it causes us to, when we start to step out of our comfort zone, causes us to feel uncomfortable feelings. And then we procrastinate, and then we try to protect ourselves with perfection and procrastination and overthinking. So I ask the specific questions that help them to take action. So going from the direction of the mind will help people to raise their awareness so that they can take action and see themselves as less limited than they do at the moment. The other thing that I do is, because going through the mind doesn't work with everybody. A lot of people are more intuitive, more feeling based. And when you ask them targeted, specific questions, it's like their brain starts to kind of shut down. They don't think that way. They need to feel the change. So I have another approach where I take people through the emotion. There's an emotional block. There's a resistance inside of them from doing the thing that they would love to do or be or have or receive. And I help them process that emotion by helping them to first not be afraid of it, not to stop avoiding it. That's step number one. Not avoiding an emotion is the first step to overcoming it. And you'll see this with any kind of addiction, any kind of trauma. The avoidance ends up with coping mechanisms, self-soothing, self-medicating with alcohol, with drugs, and on a lesser scale, with Netflix, with scrolling. When we're going through a rough time, we'll distract ourselves from our feelings rather than facing them. So by facing them, that's the first step to beginning the process of processing our emotions. And I like to think of it as an electric fence that's keeping us stuck. And when you bump up against the electric fence, you're going to want to instantly stop touching it. But if you give yourself some time to actually feel it, then you start to get used to it. Not that this would work on a real electric fence. Obviously, I need a different metaphor. But to allow yourself to feel it, okay? To allow yourself to feel the discomfort. And you start to get used to it. Maybe it's I don't know, cold water or something. And as you begin to get used to the feeling, ask yourself, could I let this feeling go? Just ask yourself, could I let it go? Yeah, no. There's no right or wrong answer. A lot of people, just say no, right? They're attached to it. Would I let the feeling go? Yeah, that's another question, because sometimes we like our pain. We get attached to our pain. We identify with our pain. And there's a payoff. There's, it allows us to kind of stay where we are and to be self-righteous and to, be proud or be better than others, or to, suffer with all our glory, right? So sometimes there's an attachment to our pain. So what's the payoff? Would you let it go? And when? Because How long do you want to live with this feeling? How long do you want this feeling to hold you back, to keep you living small, to keep you suffering? When? When would you let the feeling go? And another question that I ask after that is, who would you be without the feeling? So imagine yourself in the exact same situation that you're in now, or the exact same situation that causes the discomfort, that causes the pain or the anger or the shame or the any kind of suffering. Who would you be in that situation without that feeling? And this is where, you close your eyes, think about it. Close your eyes and be in that situation. Who would you be without that painful emotion? You're in the same situation. The other person is still doing the same thing that caused you pain or caused you discomfort, and you're doing the same action that caused you discomfort. Maybe it's public speaking. Maybe it's recording yourself on social media. Maybe it's presenting to a group online. Maybe it's calling and making contacts and networking and cold calling or going door to door, doing whatever activity you know you should be doing, but you're not doing it. Who would you be in that moment without that feeling? Think about it and be it and allow yourself to be it. A lot of the time, it's just a person. It's just a person who has goals. It's just a person who wants to be loved, who wants to achieve, who wants to grow their business, who wants to share what they know and what they love and what they've learned over their lifetime, to share something they've built. Sometimes they'll be someone who is just more loving, more caring, without those negative emotions. When you see who you would be, you start becoming your higher self, your authentic self. And all those illusions of who you thought you were and what you thought you were and those limitations, as you start to let go of those and let those dissolve, you begin to see yourself and others and the world from a much higher perspective, from a much more less limited perspective, a lot less biased perspective, a lot more open perspective. And you actually become free. So you start to feel a lot more free to take action and to do things. So going back to my original question, what is coaching? If you've never experienced something like that before, it's very difficult to describe. And so I guess coaching is growth. Being coached is growth. It's accelerating the natural process that we have during our lifetime, the wisdom that we get through the ages. We are accelerating that process. So we're getting the wisdom without the age. And that's my answer, I guess, for what is coaching. So if you like this, then you'll love my school. And it's wisdom and confidence. It's coaching for entrepreneurs, mindset coaching for entrepreneurs. It's there to help you build your confidence. It's there to help you practice your speaking skills, your people skills. It's there to help you gain perspectives. We do actionable, specific processes to help you have these epiphanies. I answer questions. I take you guys through processes to help you have these epiphanies. Right now, it's $49 a month. And when you show up and you do the work, you get the growth. You get the benefit of the growth and the coaching and the mindset work. And when you do the mindset work with the intention of taking action, then that's where you get the maximum amount from the mindset work. And I say this because mindset work can become sort of addictive, where you just keep getting lots of epiphanies and lots of understandings, but you're still not taking the action. So the action and the mindset work combined really accelerate changes in your life. That's where the changes start to really happen. And it's real. It's happening in real time. You feel the difference. You know when you're getting experience and practice. You know when your skills are improving. And you know when things are actually changing in your life. And that's my goal. That's my goal. My goal is to help people to live more authentically, to design their life around who they are so that they can do what they love and they can serve people by being themselves. They can serve people just by being themselves. They can benefit people and get paid for it. So if you're interested in that, please check out my link. It's probably all over every social media platform I have now. But it's definitely in this video. And it'll be in Spotify and YouTube. And I usually take a bunch of shorts and chop them up and put them all over the place. But I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope this answers the question of what is coaching. Talk to you later. Bye.